Thank you so much for joining us back today for this webinar series on the occasion of PlayStreet's 10th year anniversary. As our regular attendees will know by now, this is our ninth webinar in our series, 10th webinar in our series. And those who are joining us for the first time today, please feel free to check out our previous nine webinars on our YouTube channel. My name is Pranjali, and I'm a special educator and psychologist at PlayStreet. PlayStreet, as you all may know, is an organization that provides educational services to help the child with special needs become independent and live up to their full potential. We also offer parent empowerment programs, integrated schooling programs, and a variety of other clinical services. This year marks the 10th running year of PlayStreet, so we decided to bring you a series of 10 webinars, which will talk about small things to do at home to see many big changes. Today's expert is Anju Sreekumar, who will be shedding some light on how caregivers can be mindful of their own mental and physical health while taking care of their charges. Anju is a clinical social worker and special educator at PlayStreet who completed her master's in social work in the clinical and community practice. She believes in parent empowerment and that caregivers are the best guides for their children. She advocates that by remembering to take out time for their own mental health, they will be able to maintain a balanced home life, thereby improving their quality of life. I will now hand over to Anju. If you have any questions, please use the chat box as we will have a small Q&A at the end of the webinar.
Thank you so much, Pranjali. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. Today's topic will be discussing something that is very important, something that's often neglected and forgotten about, which is mental health, the mental health of caregivers. We're focusing today on parents, especially who have children with special needs. So as caregivers, you are the foundation for the children. So every day you're dealing with different challenges, and we know that it gets very difficult. And we often forget to take care of our own mental health needs. So managing wellness and being equipped with the tools to maintain a balanced state of mind is very vital. So today we will be covering a lot of different topics like caregiver burnout and signs and symptoms, different strategies to combat the negative feelings that we often feel, and also acknowledging that it's okay to feel these feelings. First, we can start off with defining what mental health is. So according to the World Health Organization, it is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own ability and can cope with the normal stresses of daily life and can work productively and fruitfully and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So here we're looking at components, that is the emotional well-being, the psychological well-being, and as well as the social well-being. So we're looking at these three things. So when we're talking about emotional well-being, it includes the happiness. Are you happy in your daily life? Your interests. Are you interested in doing the things that you usually like to do? Are you able to work productively? Are you satisfied with your quality of life? And next is the psychological well-being. So do you like yourself as an individual? Do you remember yourself as an individual? Do you have your own identity? Are you able to manage the responsibilities that come with daily life? And also if you're able to maintain the relationships that you have with other individuals, your close ones in your life. If you're satisfied with your own life. So that is the psychological well-being. And finally, the social well-being, if you're able to function positively and be involved and contribute to society. So these are the things that we're talking about when we're looking at mental health. So it's not that every day we can be happy. So we have to acknowledge that every day we have to maintain a balance. So we're looking at how to maintain a balanced mental health, because not every day can be a good day. So next, we're looking at why mental health of caregivers especially is so important. So we're always talking about the mental health of our the children around us and the different people around us, but we forget about how important we are. So we're looking at why is the caregiver's mental health so important. So as we discussed this far, parent self-care is just as important as taking care of the physical and emotional needs of your children. So there's no reason to feel guilty for that. So when you are a caregiver, you are more likely or at risk of developing your own issues, mental health issues. There's things to consider like caregiver burden, feelings of burnout. And we always have to remember that having these negative emotions can always be transferred to the children. So for that reason, the mental health of caregivers is very important. Now we're looking at some of the challenges that caregivers face. So first of all, you have to do a lot of research about the issues that your children face. So that involves doing a lot of research. There's no handbook that comes with autism. You have to locate and access different resources, what kind of treatments are available, what is accessible, what is feasible for you. That takes a lot of energy as well. Coping with the physical and emotional demands of your children, again, can be very taxing. There's always high levels of unpredictability that you're dealing with. So every day is different. So there's no maybe set routine in your day. So you're looking at high levels of unpredictability. Social isolation. So due to these daily challenges, you may not be interested in being very social with the people that you were social with earlier in your life, because your experience of parenting is very different. Lastly, the financial constraints, the therapies, the doctor's appointments, the different assessments, the materials that you require, again, that can become very difficult to manage financially. So a lot of families have to relocate to different areas to find treatment for their children. So again, that becomes expensive. So these are the challenges that caregivers face. So now we're looking at some of the needs of parents. So we forget that we're so focused on always sacrificing our own well-being and looking into what our children need. Forget that you as well as individuals have needs. You also require the attention. You require the support and self-care. You require sufficient breaks. Are you getting the time to wind down? Are you getting the time to recharge yourself so you can be there for your children? You are also, professional help is not only for the children, it is also for the parents as well. So therapies, it's not only for the kids in need, it is also for the individuals who are taking care of them. And lastly, having hobbies, taking time for leisure activities, all these things, they are important for the parents as well. And again, there's no need to feel guilt for taking time for yourself. So now that we've addressed the challenges that caregivers face, and we've also looked at the needs. So now I am sharing a caregiver self-assessment. So this is basically a checklist. So if you could just take a few minutes to go through this and reflect, see how you're feeling, look at the challenges that you face because they are very unique to you, and look at your needs if they are being met. And accordingly, you can look through this checklist and see how exactly you're feeling. So this is the self-assessment. So these are some of the signs and symptoms of burnout. If you are not able to sleep or frequently wake up, do you not have the motivation to get out of bed? If you're lacking energy, fatigue, if you're eating too much or too little, if you are feeling unwell most of the time, if you're feeling impatient, guilty, you have trouble concentrating on everyday simple tasks, or feeling forgetful, if you have stopped doing the activities that usually bring you joy, if you have become socially isolated, sad or depressed, anxious or worried, lost interest in doing things. These are some of the things that we're looking at. So you can assess how you feel. And accordingly, I will give you what the results say. So if you could just go through that, I'll give you a few minutes. So I hope you were able to go through the checklist. I'll just read out what the assessment says. So if you have checked frequently or always for any of these signs of burnout or fatigue, then it would be suggested to seek help from a healthcare provider or local health and social service network. So building a support network at this time would be the most important way to prevent burnout. So again, it really acknowledges that all these emotions that you're feeling guilty, feeling like you are not giving enough. So it's all a normal experience that parents feel. So we're looking at something called caregiver burden or burnout. So these are the negative impacts you might feel. We're looking at caregiver burden. So again, there's two dimensions here. So there's objective and subjective factors that you're looking at. So objective factors would be the observable effects. So is your family routine disrupted? Are there any social constraints, time constraints? Are you not able to give time to the social and leisure activities? Are there financial effects? And then we're looking at subjective factors. So these are the negative impacts of the circumstance. So these are the emotions that you might be feeling. So feelings of loss or guilt or shame or anger, and comparing yourself with others and not feeling like you're at the same place as your peers. So this is called caregiver burden. So it is also called burnout. So these again are the signs and symptoms of burnout we're looking at specifically. So this is divided into 5 different components. So physical signs and symptoms of burnout. So we're looking at changes in functioning. So is your sleep or health impacted? Are you sleeping too much or too less? Are you getting ill quite often, getting the cold, getting a fever quite often? These are physical signs and symptoms of burnout. Are there behavioral changes? So how has your response to the daily situations, has it changed? Have you started getting angry for small reasons? These are also behavioral changes. You're not able to withstand the daily stresses of life. How are you responding towards the different situations? And if you're isolating yourself, these are some of the behavioral changes you might see. And then there's cognitive changes. So how has your performance in your daily life changed? Are you able or are you interested in completing your daily tasks? How is your emotional and social? How has your engagement with others, your loved ones, how has that changed? Are you avoiding situations that you usually enjoy? Are you avoiding social get-togethers? So these are also signs. And again, have your changes in your spirituality, have they been impacted? These are signs of burnout. And again, this is something that it's okay. It is something that it's a universal experience that all parents might feel. So one way to, an important part of mental health in terms of caregivers is building the parent resilience. So how far are you able to bounce back from the daily challenges that you're facing? So first off would be to identify resources, taking care of yourself. So self-care will, again, different types of self-care we'll be looking at later on, adapting to the changes. So again, not managing your expectations. And finally, building social and a concrete support system. So people who encourage you when you are feeling low. So as we mentioned earlier, self-care is an important part of building that parent resilience. So making sure that you are able to, again, bounce back from the challenges that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So these are some of the different types of self-care that we're looking at. So physical, emotional, social, spiritual. Are you able to give time to your physical needs? You have to make sure that you are listening to your body. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough healthy food? Are you taking rest? Are you getting the exercise that you need? These are the physical demands that your body requires. And the emotional types of self-care. So are you able to manage your stress? Are you able to be kind to yourself, be compassionate to yourself? Are you able to manage the stress that you're experiencing? And again, social ways of taking care of yourself. Setting boundaries is very crucial. Understand that you also need time for yourself and ask for help when you need it. Communication, and again, making sure that you have a strong support system, spend adequate time together, and again, ask for help. So therapy is not something that is just for the children. It is also very important for families to strengthen your relationship. Spiritual self-care. So are you, do you want to take time for yourself? Do you want to do meditation? And some time alone, create a space for yourself. So that's not only a physical space, but an emotional space where you feel safe. Personal, personal self-care. So maintaining a hobby is something that is very important as a part of your self-care routine. So are you still doing things that bring you joy? So are you still able to see yourself as an individual, not just as a parent, not just as a caregiver, but as an individual who had certain interests before, and you can bring that back now in terms of the activities. Space. So having a healthy living environment. Again, making sure that you're in an organized space where you're able to maintain a balanced state of mind. Financial, we talked about earlier, is a big challenge that parents face. So money management, an important part of self-care. And again, work. So whether you're working from home or not working, or working outside of the home place, it's important to have a positive work environment as well, because you're carrying that same stress where your family is. So these are the different types of self-care. So now we have reached end. So we're just concluding everything that we've mentioned so far in terms of the different ways that we can maintain a balanced home life. So first thing is to join a community. So meeting other people, other parents that have a similar lifestyle to you. So that is one way that you can empower yourself. So you can share your experiences, share the resources, share the tips that work for you. So we know that we, as caregivers, you deal with a lot of different things. So the meltdowns, the seeing your children suffer and not being able to help, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless. So these are all universal experiences. So finding a community is very different. It's very important because your experience of parenting is different from the normal parent. So joining a community is very important. And secondly, managing guilt. In our culture, especially, where it's inbuilt in us to constantly sacrifice. Parents are constantly sacrificing for their children. So often you might feel guilty for not doing enough, for not giving enough time, for not being able to do the best or afford the most expensive treatments or therapies for your children. So that guilt is something that needs to be addressed. Setting limits, again, setting boundaries, knowing that not everything is in your control. Listen to your body. So we had talked about self-care earlier. So there's so many different ways that you need to address the physical and emotional and the social needs of an individual, because you again also forget that you have needs. So listen to your body. If you need rest, make sure you're getting adequate rest, make sure you're doing the things that bring you joy. So this does not mean that it does not have to be a big thing that you're doing every day. So try to, on a daily basis, bring in some activity that brings you a sense of joy. Again, educate yourself. Understand what your journey as a caregiver or as a parent is going to look like. So this will help to avoid the crisis that often happens when we don't address things earlier. Communicate with others. So express yourself. It is okay to feel the negative emotions, because again, you face a lot of challenges on a daily basis. So whether it's your family, extended family, close friends, find someone who is able to be there for you and listen to you. Find a deeper sense of meaning. So you have to acknowledge that, again, you are also an individual, so not just a parent. You might have your own things that you want to experience or conquer in life. So it is okay to look into that as well. Try for a balance. So we were talking about mental health. So it's not going to be a good day every single day. There's going to be negative emotions. There's going to be good days and bad days. So we have to strive for a balance and understand that it's okay that some days are going to be bad. And it's a process. So celebrate the small achievements and find your place in space. Again, it does not have to be just a physical escape, but an emotional escape as well. So a place where you feel safe, you feel calm, you feel happy. This is very important to recharge yourself. And finally, incorporate alternative practices. So incorporate holistic practices, mindfulness, meditation. There's a lot of resources that are free. And again, it can be virtual as well. So these are the 10 tips in terms of how you can better your mental health as a caregiver. So again, some days are tough. Some days you will not achieve much, but power through. So celebrate the small wins. And again, it's a progress. Every day, try to work towards achieving a better sense of happiness. So if that is the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, you can now.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, sometimes our frustration or angry will end up into burst on our own special kid. So how to avoid it?
So again, that's stress management. So if possible, you can take a few minutes to yourself and try to, it's okay to have your own personal, space. So we talked about self-care again. So having that space to yourself, whether it's a physical or mental space, take a few seconds, step away from the situation, take a few deep breaths, and understand that you are doing your best and not everything is in your control. Take a deep breath and then try to come back to the situation.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining. This was our final webinar. So thank you for joining until now. All our social media links have been posted. So we've covered a lot of very informative topics until now. So please do check them out.
I'm just going to come in here and just add on to that. Anju, thank you so much for your presentation. And it's been a very interesting 10 weeks that we have had an interaction with all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of these, the 10-year webinars. And again, like they said, you can always go back. All the presentations are up. Even if it doesn't happen within a week, it will happen within maybe a little longer than that. But it's always up and you can always get in touch with us. We are deeply grateful to all of you for the questions that you have asked and got us thinking about, more aspects that we should also think about. So thank you for all of that. And thank you for joining us. Well, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.